Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the February 6th, 2023 meeting of the Rotary Club of Raleigh downtown. It's great to see everybody on a nice sunny winter's day like this. And overall, over the excitement, I know I am about, I was actually down on the coast over the weekend and got to see the jets scrambling and all that. So it's all pretty exciting. It wasn't far enough out to see the balloon go down. Again, welcome everybody to the meeting today. I think we have a very interesting speaker after we finish our business meeting. Before we get to all that though, Patty, would you like to lead us please in an invitation?
Having moved here last year from Pennsylvania, I must confess to you, my sisters and brothers, that I'm sorely tempted to pray for a certain team in a certain sport, in a certain game that I believe is taking place very soon. But I'm going to resist temptation. That's what I was trained to do. Doesn't always happen. So I will not pray publicly for a certain team in a certain sport, in a certain game, but I will at least ask you to consider it in your hearts. With that in mind, let's say a word of prayer. Gracious God, for all the blessings and graces you bestow upon us, we give you thanks. The opportunity to come together in fellowship, in friendship, this day, we give you thanks. For the food that is laid before us, the hands that have prepared, we give you thanks. For the privilege, yes, the privilege of serving others in this club, in our community, in our nation, and in our world. We give you thanks. In all these things, we ask with grateful hearts to bless us this day. And all we do may be done to the glory of your most holy name. Amen.
I'm going to send the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, beautiful our space, the sky's for and her ways of grace. For her, for mountains and the sea, from sea to shining sea. Are things and that's a worry. Thank you. Thank you again for the wonderful invitation and Charlie for the leading us in the Rotary chant. Please, again, don't forget the red buckets on your tables. The money that you put into the red bucket, either written on a Monopoly dollar or whatever change you have, again, goes to the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. So please keep it in your mind. And Charlie, you want to stand up? I don't know if we have any Duke fans or not, but there are snappy dollars around here. Our speakers are Duke fans, it turns out. Anyway, any happy events and happy dollars and money goes to our foundation. I see Bob Gilbert, he was Joel. It's not a good dollar. Oh, this is for Virginia Saturday, Virginia Saturday. They also have about 15 parties. That's where only 3 wins in. Okay, great. I'll make one extension for Jim Dorsey. He emailed me before the meeting started that he couldn't come because he's driving down to Charlotte to meet his new grandson. He's here over the weekend, so congratulations to Jim and Gwen. Upcoming meetings. Next week, we have Rich Romano. You really enjoy Rich. I know him and worked with him personally. Very energetic fellow, and he'll tell you how you don't realize how the cooperative extension program affects our lives in many ways. President's Day all after that, and then we have the North Carolina Film Office at the end of the month telling us what films, movies are being made in North Carolina. The future is about that. I did want to also mention again, for any of you going to another Rotary club to visit whenever you're out of town, business or on vacation or whatnot. I've done it, I know others have done it. It's a lot of fun. It's sure treated as a rock star when you come in, and but it's additional, especially for newer members, to bring one of our club banners with you. Bill McLaurin and I were in the storage locker last week, getting a bunch of stuff, and I came upon another box of banners. So we have plenty of banners. So just please ask me, Tommy, or Linda when she gets back. Good report on Linda, our executive secretary. I spoke with her on Friday, and she sounded good. She's making a recovery from her hip surgery. She's hoping to be back online and available by phone in perhaps a couple of weeks. I don't think we'll see her at the desk for at least another month or so, but that's normal for that type of surgery. But hopefully, well, all of us, of course, we sent her flowers and everything, but she's out in good spirits. She misses all of you and wanted me to tell you that she misses all of you. Just get back to see everybody. I didn't want to go back because I didn't welcome our guests that we have today. I won't ask the guests who are coming up with Harrison later, who are getting a first or second reading or being inducted. But other than that, I understand I think I can see we have a couple of guests here. Rich, start with yours. You're very special guests.
Yes, I'm a very special guest. I have to give all the credit to Durham Academy for scheduling a teacher's work day to allow me the opportunity to sit here in one very special memorable one.
Welcome, it's just lovely to have you here today. Welcome. And let's see, kind of going from left to right. Well, okay, that's okay. And we do have a special event today. We're inducting a new member. John, did you bring a guest today?
I did. I brought my wife.
Yes. Okay. Good. Introduce her to us.
Yeah.
That's
This is not like Jennifer, many of you may have a better than me because she taught Latin at high school for 31 years. She's probably taught somebody that she didn't teach you. And this guy right here, his daughter was one of the students. So we share a lot. Including we have a farm in Orange County that we operate. But she's my great partner and I'm licensed here.
great. Well done. And David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm not taking anything parenting from the Republic and for the CEO again.
Okay, welcome. Right. Well, one of our longtime members, and she's a assistant chair until last year, Nicolette Fulton is joining your club Wilmington. So you'll expect to have her as a member, and she'll be great. So that's great. And one of your former presidents is a member as well, Louis Rogers, who's not here today. Okay. Well, good. And Chase, would you like to stand up and introduce yourself and the guests.
Hi, everybody, my name is James Reardon. I live with my wife and my little sister, Garner. It's not too far from here. I have been looking for some opportunities to do more streets, and I hear you all do a lot. And so I'm kind of excited to do more about that today and really possibly doing this.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. And Chase, what do you do?
I work in finance.
Okay, Chase this is for the people on Zoom, they can't hear everything, that's okay. Chase works in finance. I did want to welcome everybody on Zoom today as well, we can't forget them. These are upcoming, a lot of district meetings coming up. They were in the newsletter this morning, as well, so you can take a closer look at them. But they're lined up. The first one coming up this month is the district assembly. For anybody who wants to know a bit more, I don't know how Rotary works at the district level, what the district is doing. The assembly lasts, I think it's from 9 to 9:30, just till noon. It's here in Raleigh, near 5 Points. I'll be there. I know Carrie will be there. Patty will be there. I saw Patty registered, so it's good event to go to get to know a little bit more about Rotary. It'll be over by noon, and then you can have the rest of the week. And so keep that in mind. Tommy, where's Tommy? Tommy, Tommy's gonna make a fuss. It's time for our nosy neighbor segments.
My time is there.
That's right.
Welcome, everybody. Glad to see all of you here, including all of you that are visitors and guests. Thank you guys for bearing with us at the front desk while we try and match names and faces the best we can. I'm learning. So I'll have it all down right about the time Linda comes back. So that'd be an accomplishment for one of us. Today's nosy neighbor is Richard. And not necessarily the problem, but if you'd like her to come up. She can only enhance whatever you and I are about to say. Come on up, Richard. You guys know Richard Watkins. Richard actually was had the same position that I have in Love, and so he handed it over. So I'm trying to fill his shoes the best I can, but he did a great job on it. Those people here know that. And so we're just going to kind of get to know Richard for a few minutes for our nosy neighbor segment. Richard, before we get started with any official questions, I'll just tell them a little bit. We'd love to hear about work. What kind of work do you do? You know, what are you looking for? What are you trying to grow professionally and anything like that?
Well, absolutely, it's a pleasure to make you all acquainted through this nosy neighbor program, which is excellent, by the way. So I am the director of membership and chapters for SIGMA's, the Scientific Research Honor Society. It's one of the oldest and the largest interdisciplinary scientific societies in the world. And so I do a lot of traveling, and that's why I miss a lot of meetings, but I cancel all that so I can make sure I'm present and here for nosy neighbors.
Glad to hear we were working. So you are a scientist by trade, PhD graduate, and now you're kind of working in that field, but in a unique way. Tell us a little bit about the development process to become a PhD. What kind of classes do you have to take? What kind of scientist are you?
Well, listen, we have somebody at that table right now who's going through the dissertation process right now. It is hellacious to say the very least. But by training, I'm a virologist. I study viruses. My primary work when I was in graduate school was in the Center for AIDS Research. So the virus that I spent the most time with is HIV. But I definitely dabble in flu, COVID, coronaviruses, and also RSV. So yeah.
That sounds good. And I never knew that. So we were on a board meeting recently, and somebody referred to Richmond as their center of knowledge on this topic, and I kind of giggled because I didn't know that's what you did. Turns out they were being pretty sincere. But I'm glad I know now. Growing up and everything prior to PhD, a lot of sports in life. Tell us all a little bit about what sports you're involved with and what roles you play.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm far removed from sport. I have a bum knee to thank for it, but Football, baseball, golf, track and field. But I think the one that was kind of the coolest, you all heard of all of those other sports. But I was a junior Olympic speed skater between the ages of 10 and 14. So not too many people speed skating around here, but that's a really cool thing that I was able to do speed skating.
Did not see that coming. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is that February is the kickoff for Black History Month. This is the beginning, and as Rotarians, we're all, getting our hearts right and our spirits right about this. Wanted to ask you a little bit about the personal significance for you personally, any traditions or anything that you observe during this month that would, be good for us as a group to think about or hear about as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think I can tell anyone how to feel about a particular month. I'm just one person. I'm one Black person who's experiencing this month. But I think history is important for everyone. But you talk a little bit about, my progression and getting a PhD.
Yeah.
And all I want to say is just how grateful I am kind of every single day, knowing that I came from a people who had masters and were considered to be property, to now have my PhD, which somehow now places me ironically above the masters. I mean, you can't write this stuff, and I'm so very, very grateful. And I was built on the hard work of my grandfather. He was Mr. Watkins. I built on the hard work of my dad, who was Coach Watkins, and now I'm Dr. Watkins. And pretty soon, I don't know what she's going to have to be, maybe President Watkins or something like that.
Guys, if you have questions for Richard, anything you want to get together or ask him about, engage with him sometime, give him a call. Otherwise, this is Dr. Richard Apollo Odo Watkins.
Thanks, Tommy, and thanks, Richard. Richard really helped us get us through the whole COVID era with just the people he knew and the information he could get a hold of that we didn't have access to. And he also, Tommy mentioned that he's doing, he used to do what Tommy does now at our meetings, but he's now our new generations chair. We thought that would be, you can tell, a great position for him because he's working with college, maybe even high school students in the future, and that enthusiasm really appeals to them and wears off. So thank you, Charles. Richard. Next is Harrison, board membership. There we go.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Man, there's a recurring thing that has happened the past couple of weeks that I've been here at our Rotary meeting. Every week I walk away from the meeting saying to myself, that's one of the best Rotary meetings we've had in a while. And I feel like this one's already started that way. So let's hopefully continue that. Today, we've got a lot to cover in membership. And as I've been membership chair going to my third year, I think that we have not had this happen today, but we are going to cover every piece of membership today in our meeting. So this is very exciting. So first, Candace, if you will please join me up front. Thank you very much. For those that haven't met Candace yet, Candace was here actually last week, her first meeting, but she was referred to us by Renia Webb, is that correct? That's your sister over, she's part of the Oakland Club. And Candace Finding House, she has put her application in, has been approved by the board, and today we have her here for our first reading. For newer members, or those who don't know why we do reading system, it's an opportunity for us to put a face with a name, for you to get to know her a little bit better. And then if there's anything that you could know that might disqualify her from being a Rotarian, that gives an opportunity for us to have those kind of discussions. But today it gives us an opportunity just to introduce you to Candace a little bit more. Candace, you are the professor of religious studies and the director of spiritual life at St. Augustine's University, professor of theology, ethics, and gender studies at Shaw University, and music director and the organist at Navy Street Presbyterian. Is that right?
Yes.
She stays busy. She's also included with that, a mother of 3 3 young daughters, and she is currently completing her dissertation in the field of theology and ethics with a concentration on environmental justice, animal rights, and other extensions of social justice work. Let's see, you are currently in your defense for your dissertation in December. Oh, this month. Wow. Goodness gracious. Okay. Wow. So as you can tell, I got a lot, but she's also finding time to come out here and to be a part of the group that's trying to add value to the community. Is there anything that you'd like to add about your background or that you introduce yourself?
Sure, no, we have preacher now. I'm from Oakland, actually third generation, my whole family's still there. And I've seen service through people that would probably be unassuming, going out to help. I really am here. My grandmother was one that really inspired me, that she did to help others. And I left the Bay Area in 2001 after finishing at UC Berkeley. And I wanted to go to law school, but ended up in the seminary at Emory. And then I ended up here due to doing another master's at Duke Divinity. So I figured out the past couple of months actually that there's an opportunity now for me to become more involved with the connections at St. Aug, Shaw, Historic Davie Street. And my mentor, Senator Blue, has agreed to kind of help me. He's such a sweet man. And unassuming, I didn't know who Senator Blue was. Funny story, when he was interviewing me for the job, he kept asking me questions. So I wanted to be nice, and I said, "So are you new in North Carolina?" And all my friends said, "You don't know who you were talking to." But I really love the opportunity to do service work and also learn from all of you here. And in connections, I would really value those. And hopefully I can learn from you all, and we can do that together with Rotary. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I have 3 daughters. They're 12, 10, and 6. And I'm homeschooling the younger 2 because they're transitioning to magnet schools in Wake County. That was the other thing. I said I want to be public schools. So my daughters are now going to be, we were at a Montessori school. And I really appreciate all that I learned about North Carolina magnet schools and public schools. So we're excited about that as well.
Thank you so much. If you have any questions or haven't made a connection, please find Candace after the meeting. Next, we go from a first reading to a second reading. DeMonte, you come up front, please. Thanks so much. DeMonte Sanders, he is here. He is sponsored by myself. Once again, born in Smithfield, North Carolina. He currently works at State Employees Credit Union as a loan officer and a collateral tech handling auto titles and developing procedures for back office tracking. DeMonte, I always ask people, understand what your why is for Rotary. What excites you? Why Rotary for you?
Service. Actually, it's kind of funny. I was actually looking for a organization that is about service. Actually, God led me here. Funny how I answer prayer. So I kept asking, and God showed me. And I remembered as a child that the Smithfield Rotary Club had actually helped my high school. And when I did, and I was like, well, I'm not hanging out in Smithfield, but I know I want to start abroad, and I want to make an impact by doing the service. And if God led me here, so I'm here to serve. So it's my first, it's my initiative in life.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
It has been a wonderful opportunity, a privilege to get to know DeMonte. He's got a heart for service. I know you're going to be a huge impact to our club. So thank you so much. If you haven't met DeMonte, please find that for the meeting. Next, Jessica, you will come up front.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
Today we have a big honor of moving Jessica from her red badge to her blue badge. Jessica, you, upon after being accepted to the Rotary Club of Raleigh, you received a pamphlet kind of listing out things that you had to be involved with, and an opportunity for you to get connected to the club and get engaged. And for all of you who have known and met Jessica, she has done that in above and beyond. She's got connected with her club. She's been part of service events. She's been engaged on what's happening in the club and then also referring people here as well. For you, yeah, so, and today we are honored to present Jessica with her blue badge, moving from red to blue. Thank you. That's right. For those who here, she said everybody can help or they know someone who can help, so that's true. And lastly, if we can have John Gates, please, John, Bill as well, and then John, you're more than welcome to come up to. Perfect. And for everybody, I think you did a phenomenal job of introducing your wife. I'm glad that she was able to be here today as part of this. John Cates, John's membership application has been reviewed and approved in accordance with our club's constitution and bylaws, and we will now proceed in admitting you into the membership in the Rotary Club of Raleigh and Friendship with Rotary throughout the world. Before we do that, we have a couple of questions for you. Number one,
will you join us as we strive to live a life of service above self?
I will. Question number two.
Will you join us in our activities for third projects and fundraising activities in support of our community?
And will you join us in supporting Rotary's efforts worldwide, which focus on these 7 areas: promoting peace, disease prevention, providing clean water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, economic and community development, and protecting the environment? And fellow Rotarians, will you join me in fostering and supporting John as he joins us in pursuing and adding value to our community through service above self? If you do, please say, I will. Now, Bill, if you would please provide John with his lapel. No issue that time. Awesome. And Rotarians, would you please now join me in welcoming John Cates to the Rotary Club of Raleigh? Thank you so much. And lastly, I'll make it quick because I know I've been here long. We have our next 5th meeting of Service Social, if you remember those. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 22nd at Craft Beer Shop in Lafayette Village. We'll make sure to remind you guys this is the next meeting, but this gives us an opportunity to provide food, different snacks for school children that we help support at local schools. So make sure to put that on your calendar. Service Social on the 22nd, which is a Wednesday, Craft Beer Shop in Lafayette Village. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Harrison. And John, congratulations again. And this is for you as well. This is our history of the Rotary Club of Raleigh book as of 2014, when we had our 100th anniversary. So. There won't be a quiz. And next we shall move into service and Richard. Was Richard here? He just left? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, we're gonna talk about service. As you know, this February, as we did last year, we're supporting the Wake Up and Read program, whose goal is to have every child in Wayne County reading at their grade level by the end of 3rd grade. So last year, we collected a little over 2,000 children's books. And here's my initial donation of books. There are probably about 25 books in here. And here I got a bunch of books from my neighbors up and down the street, just asking if we have them left over. So please, each meeting, bring children's books all this month. Let Richard know if you have books. He'll come out to your house and pick them up. He's dedicated. Our goal this year is to get 2,500 books to contribute to the Wake Up and Read program, which is just a great program and deserves their support. So please keep that in mind. I did want to follow up on our service project for December. The bell ringing still, as you recall, I said, I'm not gonna let this go. We won. We We raised the most money, out of all the Rotary clubs bringing in the area. Almost $17,000, which is just a great amount for just people out there in the cold and the wind at night. We had some members who were very generous, also very generous, donating the checks that they put in the buckets. They also have to working too. So, but there's a prize. It stands about this high. It's a big gold bell that the club who wins is supposed to get every year. And the Cary Rotary Club won it last year. They have the bell, but as you can see, this is the president's response to my latest email to him. They had a great chili event he wanted to tell me. He said, but he says the bell is MIA. So-and-so's jack of so-and-so, so-and-so's jack of so-and-so. So we'll keep you posted on our progress. I'll keep you posted, but there's not coming time. Yeah, I think by the end of the month, we're going to put down some resolution. Send Juicy over to persuade him to somehow. Find that bill. Bill, it may have to come. Yeah. Birthdays, Mary Moss, Mary, if we're on Zoom. Happy birthday, Mary. Is Mary on Zoom? Everybody say happy birthday to Mary Moss. We miss you.
Thank you.
And Michael, to see that country, Michael. Happy birthday. Good morning. Good morning, Michael. And that's perfect timing to bring close our business meeting and introduce our speaker for today. We were introduced to our speaker, unfortunately, by Jenny Heyman. And Jenny was going to come today, but at the last minute, something came up. Our speaker, Emma Battle, told me this before, and she couldn't make it. For those of you new who are guests, Jenny is a lifelong, she's just a lifelong time friend of the club. Her husband, Heyman Wilson, we named our vocational service award after him. Heyman unfortunately left us and life a bit too early for all of us, a lot too early for all of us, 2 or 3 years ago, and we miss him dearly. But we didn't get to see Jenny at our holiday lunch, but she contacted us and has been doing work with an organization called Higher Ed Works, and she's very excited about that work. And she really wanted us to meet the head of that organization who was going to be speaking to us today. And let me read a short introduction for our speaker who will be speaking to us on the state of North Carolina public education. Emma Singletary Battle serves as president and chief executive officer at Higher Ed Works, a nonpartisan public charity that supports North Carolina public higher education. She's also president of Market Vigor, a business services company, and is the director and board of several other companies and organizations. For more than 30 years, Emma has been an innovative leader in business strategy, as well as digital, B2B, B2C, e-commerce, and social media marketing. Emma is a North Carolina native, first-generation college graduate, a mother of 2 college graduate sons. She received her bachelor's degree in economics, Spanish from Duke University. That's why she was raising her hand before, because they went over the Tar Heels over the weekend. But she received her bachelor's in economics, Spanish from Duke, and her MBA from Harvard Business School. So Emma, we welcome you very much today and look forward to what you have to say. So, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and I hope you can hear me. I am going to be speaking in a mask. I am immune compromised. I have had 5 shots, 4 Moderna, 1 Pfizer, and even Evershell, but I just don't make enough antibodies. So, What I want to talk to you about is our organization and the state of public education in North Carolina. First of all, it says higher ed works and starts with pre-K. Our board recently decided that we needed to do the entire continuum. We were founded in 2014, focused on our public higher education system because North Carolina is one of 3 states that has a constitutional mandate that all residents of North Carolina be provided sound basic education, not just K-12, but higher ed. Higher ed is in our constitution, that it must stay affordable and accessible. And most of our citizens did not realize that. That's why we have such a great UNC system, really good community college system. It has differentiated us in the South for many, many decades because it was in our constitution that we should have this great education system. At Higher Ed Works, our mission is to communicate and educate to drive public support for and state investment in public education from pre-K through higher education. Now, why is education important? I've heard there's educators in here. There are people who have spouses that are educators. A lot of you already know the answer to this, but here are some facts. Education and having a really good public education system attracts businesses and fuels economic development. It is the engine that develops the workforce and equips the workers with the critical thinking and training that they need. It is also the primary driver of economic mobility that improves the quality of life for North Carolinians and helps to break generations of dependency on the social safety net. My personal story as a first-generation college graduate started when my parents, we are descendants from slaves in South Carolina. I actually know my Scotch-Irish slave owner, 3rd great-grandfather. I found out who that was recently. And my parents relocated to North Carolina. I was with 9th grade education in Winston-Salem to work in the factory. My dad was a statistic as a Black male, got into a fight when he was in his 20s. I was 4 years old. He was 25. And a man beat him up and he went out and he was a hunter and a fisherman, and he always had weapons, and he came home, he got his gun, and went back and shot him. Well, he was arrested and had to go to prison. My mother and there were 3 children at the time, there ended up being 5 of us, but we had to move to a housing project in East Winston. We had to get on welfare. We had to get on food stamps. It was a violent neighborhood in the 60s. We had a lot of crime. We had a big riot in 67 with Black Panthers and National Guard. But anyway, going to church every day, we would count the blood stains on the street. My friend Tweety was raped at 5 years old. It was a terrible situation. The schools weren't that great, but there was a bright spot. I got a chance to go to Head Start. My sister and brother got a chance to go to Head Start. At Head Start, I learned to read. My mother, who cleaned houses for people on the other side of the city, was bragging about how her daughter could read. So they gave her books. And my mom brought those books to me, and when she couldn't find me, I was reading those books. And my teacher in Head Start, Ms. O'Neill, she recognized that. She mentored, she supported me. And I went through the school system in a terrible neighborhood until my dad got out of prison, moved us out into government subsidized housing as a stepping stone. But all the time, teachers, counselors, principals reinforced me learning to read, me being good in education, and I got great grades. So then I started to say, well, maybe I could go to college. They said, yeah, you're going to be a teacher. My siblings also got rewarded for that. What ended up happening, fast forward many years later, I go to college. All of my siblings, except for one, go to college. Got A&T, we got Forsyth Tech, we got Duke, we got NC State. We all went to college, and now the next generation is graduating from college. So we have broken a cycle of poverty. And then, you know, my story is not unusual. There are many people who have had this kind of breakthrough because of public education. I remember all of my guidance counselors. I got a scholarship to go to boarding school because my guidance counselor in Clark Cloud said, you don't need to go to Parkland High School and drive the bus. You need to be prepared to go to college, so fight this scholarship. But my parents couldn't have done it for me. That was in public school. So I have lots of public school stories, but we'll continue. It also reduces incarceration, crime, homelessness, and health disparity. So having a sound basic education, starting with pre-K, is really important. At Higher Works, our key messages are higher education works and starts with pre-K. It's a strong economic driver, prepares skilled workers, improves upward mobility, reduce health disparities, and must stay affordable and accessible. And oh, in North Carolina, don't rest on our laurels because our systems are risk. Our strategy is we try to influence legislators from the outside in by informing people of the issues, the opportunities, so that they can say, okay, let's make sure that we continue to protect our schools. We do that by engaging people at the grassroots. We don't have a lobbyist. We talked about people who said we need one. We don't have one. We're trying to talk to everyday people to get us to be engaged. Why do we focus online? It's because that's where people get the news. That's where people are influenced, and in some cases, they're radicalized. In other cases, they're educated and they're motivated. They're influenced by family, they're influenced by friends, they're influenced by posts. So we are online. Why is our work important? If you don't know this, the local news has been shrinking. And they used to have education reporters. They don't have those anymore. So we are filling a lot of those roles. We connect with an average of 2.5 million people, mostly North Carolinians, every year with our information and content. We extend our reach when sometimes we get picked up by local news and national news. And then our impact happens when legislators respond. And they have responded to a few things that I'll tell you about. So what are the public education issues that we see hurting North Carolina? First, there's not enough pre-K capacity. And less than 50% of needy children who could use the pre-K public, I'm talking about the state-funded program. It's a 5-star program. Has a lot of requirements, requires a bachelor's degree teachers. We don't have enough capacity to meet the need. And we have one of the best pre-K, public pre-K programs in the country, but we are not serving our children. Teacher pay, insufficient. We used to be at the top. We're now at the bottom in terms of teacher pay. We compete with South Carolina and Georgia, and they're all ahead of us now. Leandro, we know about that. It's not funded fully. We are seeing vouchers come in to take some of the public education money out of the schools. And what's going to be left are sheltered schools. There are places where this has happened. And you get, particularly in communities that I used to live in, really terrible public schools when you're not paying the teachers well, when they don't have the money, and you don't see as much progress with people who are really needing that education. This is the big one. We're the 10th largest state. We have a huge rainy day fund. We have a constitutional mandate to properly fund education, yet we rank number 50 for percentage of GDP spent on K-12. Number 50. Before it just came out, we were 48 last year, we're 50 this year. People are surprised to hear that. We are number 50. We are at the bottom at North Carolina. So we do have the funds. We should do a better job of funding our system. In the 70s, about 70% of the general fund used to go to fund pre-K. That's down to 40%. So we got some challenges here. We have one of the largest community college systems in the country. We rank number 48 for educator pay. Our community college professors make less than our K-12 professors, K-12 teachers in North Carolina. And then the UNC system governance, well, if you read the news, we got all kind of headlines that are undesirable. So we highlighted a few of these recently. We ran a community college series where we showcased the positive impact of public-private partnerships. Our community colleges are doing well because businesses are stepping in to fill some of that funding gap. And there are lots of public-private partnerships around the state that are really doing great to identify talented low-income students, to provide for wraparound services, all kinds of programs, and we highlighted some of them. We communicated to people, particularly in our rural counties, of financial aid opportunities. A lot of them think college is too expensive, so we wanted to let them know about that. And then we highlighted specific well-paying jobs you can get with district community college credential. And talking to the healthcare companies, there's this job called central sterile processing. Who knows what that is? Anybody? All right, if you ever go into the hospital or doctor and you need a procedure, they have instruments. Those instruments need to be sterilized. That's somebody's job. That job you can get, it pays pretty well with just a community college credential. But those, then they're in demand. We talked to Blue Cross Blue Shield. They said, oh yes, we need those. We need so many jobs that people don't know about, so we're telling people about them. So, and it looks like the video got enabled. I'm going to show you guys a couple of videos from some of our campaigns when we get the content in. Sound? It should be. Hold on. We got a little technical problem. This is
NC State.
okay.
I know that's true for many of them, which is in the system. For us, you know, it's a great institution. We always think about the whole state. As you think about it, as we become so competitive for entry, we need to make sure that all of the young people across our state know what happened to get to one of the universities, and that's for instance. Students transfer to NC from any PA community colleges, and we typically have 11,000 students. Well, the potential is to form really deep relationships with 13 colleges that we've historically derived the most students from. And they're all within essentially 100 miles of Raleigh. And those, we call it our C3 program, Community College Collaborative. The difference in this program is a student can enter one of these 13 community colleges with the express goal of coming to NC State. And they're admitted simultaneously with the community college and NC State. So from their first day of classes at one of the community colleges, they're advised by NC State advisors on what courses to take, how to transfer those courses to the university, and how to be prepared to enter the degree program at NC State that's your ultimate goal. That's going phenomenally well. We still, though, need to be paying a lot of attention to young people that it takes a while for them to decide what they want to do. You know, I may have been one of those. Not everyone as a senior in high school knows I want to go to Central Carolina Community College with the goal of getting to NC State. But we want those that are at a community college like Central Carolina to have a clear understanding of what the pathway is. And we're getting much better at this as an institution. The system is getting better at it. And it is so critical for the state, for affordability,
I mean, because a community college represents a great affordable education where you're typically staying at home and attending classes. You may be working at the same time. And that gets you to the finish line with much less debt and in a short amount of time.
You guys know that guy. You guys know that guy, right? Okay, yeah, he's one of our favorites. We love him. And we've got several videos with him talking about programs at NC State. In this one, he's telling people about the community college to NC State path. And so that was like a lot. We got a lot of popularity from that one. This next one is another community college video. Oh, you gotta go one more second.
I graduated high school in 2012. I immediately came to Pitt Community College because I knew that this was a place I wanted to be. And I started as a Vision Scholar in the summer program. They immediately got me rolling with school things and learning about how to go to college and how to be an adult. From there, I became a student at Pitt Community College. I was here from 2012 to 2015. I acquired an associate's degree in general education and associate's degree in arts. I left Pitt Community College with the help of Visions with 2 degrees. Of course, I think the biggest thing for me as a first generational student was financials, coming with the cost of college and how I would make that happen. Vision supported that, along with a lot of other things. And so I think that was the biggest piece for me. After leaving Pitt Community College in 2015, I continued on to East Carolina University. At that time, I became a scholar there as well and received financial assistance to go to that school. I received my bachelor's in social work in 2018. I continued on to do a master's program. It was an advanced master's program, so I completed my master's degree in 1 year. In 2019, I received my master's in social work.
We like to tell stories like Robinique. Robinique was in a program. It's a public-private partnership between Pitt Community College and Grady White Boats down in eastern North Carolina. And they invest in counselors for people who are in the high school system who are the most at risk. A lot of the children that they support with the Visions program were not expected to graduate high school, much less college. And it has been just a phenomenal success. So there are programs like that around the state, and we featured several of them in our campaign. Okay, so the other campaign that we it was called Where We Stand Underfunded, and we highlighted some of the statistics I shared with you earlier, where we rank, and people were really surprised with this. We also had a really successful nursing campaign where we were the first organization in the state to break the news about how bad the nursing shortage in North Carolina was going to get in 2033. It's the RNs, LPNs is awful. Not only that, we pointed out what the root causes were. There is a waiting list to get in nursing schools across North Carolina. However, there is not enough faculty to teach the nurses. And the reason there's not enough faculty is because the nurses make more money than instructors. So people want to go into clinical practice. They don't want to teach when they can't make enough money. So we brought that to the attention of several of our supporters. One of them called Phil Berger, said, hey, you have to pay attention to this, and the legislature, and they have a study underway that they budgeted for to figure out how to increase nurses graduating in North Carolina by 50%. So that was a direct result of us highlighting this. The NNO picked it up a couple weeks after we did, and it's now a big deal. So We know we can make a difference with particularly your help when you find something and you make your legislator aware of it. We got one more video.
When you can make more to do the job than you can to teach people how to do the job, and that gap grows, then you're in trouble. And that's where we often find ourselves with nursing and other programs. This is the Achilles heel of North Carolina community colleges. We are remarkable. We are as good as it gets in just about everything except for what we pay our people. What I worry about is what the differential is between being able to do the job, to teach people how to do the job. And when that differential is like this, then we're in trouble. And we're in trouble. And and for nursing, it's particularly that way.
Our model does show a shortage of nursing faculty. This is something we're hearing nationally that's really important. Part of it is the aging of our nursing faculty. We're going to see very large retirements. We are also seeing, in fact, that community college system in general has faced chronic faculty shortages. The community college system cannot pay the same salaries as other institutions, but there's also been, even for our university system, it is more lucrative to work in clinical practice often than it is to be a faculty member.
There are two real bottlenecks with nursing programs. One of which is just having enough instructors to be able to teach more nurses. And the second is in terms of clinical sites. A lot of nursing education happens, and I'm looking over at Wake Med right now, at the hospital. And that also can be the challenge because of that real world part. There's only so many places. There's only so many slots. Nursing has always been, the discipline for community colleges where there's way more employer demand for the graduates we produce. Our graduates walk out of here with jobs. The only ones that don't have jobs is just because they're waiting a little bit before they go through that application process. There's way more demand for more nurses coming through us than we have slots for. And then when we look at the number of students trying to get into our nursing programs, there's way more students who want to get into a nursing program like ours than we're able to accept. So automatically there's a mismatch. There's a bottleneck. We talk around it, but at some point we probably do all have to collectively step up and say, what could we do? Because when you reach points like a pandemic or other times like now, you say, why do we have that? And it's just been a fundamental challenge that has been there, not just in the last couple of years, but over the last several decades.
So this was the video that got the attention, that got some action, and we hope that we will start to see us closing the gap on that. So last year, just to show you how many people we reached, last year we reached 2.6 million people. And what we measure is, are they engaging with the content that we put in front of them? If you have a social media page or you're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, you see ads come up. You see, people pushing content in front of you. We look, do they ignore it? Do they engage with it? Do they watch the video? Do they click? We have a really high engagement rate. And I'm going to show you some of that in our community college campaign. So we had 1.7 million actions on our content. This is the community college campaign that we ran last year. We featured 5 colleges, and before we had 4 more before. And you can see they're reaching, and this was advertised only in those counties. We did not advertise statewide for these. We just took the content that was for that county, and we advertised in the counties and the surrounding counties. And you can see we had huge reach. But look at the engagement rate. You saw I said 67%. We were getting 463%, 600%. People are hungry for this information and this content, particularly when it's in the context of their community. And that's what we try to serve to them. We have, since we started, we've really grown our social media presence. We started with 1,500 and we are over 140,000 people who are following us on our social platforms, who are staying in touch with what we're doing. Our email database, we have another 160,000 or so people there. So we reach about 300,000 people before we do the advertising, and then we do the advertising to reach more. For this year, We are continuing to focus on underfunding. We are going to explore pandemic loss, learning loss, to see what solutions there are there. We're going to bring those experts and have them talk to the people about it. And basically, we're going to embrace viable strategies for teacher pay. We know there's a proposal out there. They're talking about piloting. We've studied it. We've written about it. We've talked about a balanced view. We think that something needs to happen, and we are ready to support whatever there is. We're going to point out the risk of economic growth if the workforce is not sufficiently educated, and we want to support the funding of the engine. Community colleges, we're going to go statewide with some of the content we had last year. Continue to support. If you've heard of My Future in C, they have a goal that we improve our rate of people who have credentials. So we support them, and we're going to continue to do that. And then we're going to call for, our governing to reflect our state's diversity, and that our leaders don't overreach and work with faculties on campus for shared governance. How you can help. If you would ask your legislators to follow the North Carolina Constitution to adequately fund public education, pre-K through college, that would be helpful. If you would like to make a tax deductible donation to higher ed works, we could use that. It helps us to stay relevant, stay in front of people, and to keep the issues highlighted. Join our mailing list. Get our newsletter. We send one a week, usually on Wednesday or Thursday. So we hope you'll join. Share our content on social media. Introduce us to corporations, foundations, and individuals who might want to support a stronger state public education system. We thank you for your time. We thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Then we need to get going. Survey will take.
Yes, I hope I can state this the right way, but about 20 years ago, the state of North Carolina had, as far as in comparison with other states, our community college system was really quite good, and even our public education was quite good. And my question would be, in 20 years ago, what percentage of funding was spent for public education, and what for charter education, and what for homeschooling? And then in comparison to how much money is spent in both of those and those 3 endeavors today, how much has the public schools, the attendance at public schools, how much has that decreased, and how much money is still available? Where you mentioned that the teachers don't get 48% in the community colleges and 50% in the public education. And my question, the basis of what I'm asking is, has not the number of students in the public schools, a number of them gone to the charter schools and the homeschooling, and is that in some way relative to what's being taught? There was the University of North Carolina just passed legislation that we would go back to our primary sources of education, history and math, English, civics, that type of thing, and that got nationwide exposure. So that my question is, how much money is being spent in the state of North Carolina now on things like diversity and equity and social issues, and even going along with Marxism? So the point being, how do we get the basic education back to where it was 200 years ago, where you were basically educating young people in elementary school through high school at a very high level in the items that will later provide them a means of providing for their families and getting back to, you know, the wholesome education that we've known and North Carolina has excelled in for so many years.
All right, we'll come for that one question.
So, did you ask that question because we have, there's a movement right now that is causing stress in our public education system around socialism and around something called wokeism. That is not a thing, but people have made it a thing. 20 years ago, we were ranked 15 per student, number 15 for per student spending, and we're number 42nd now. We were number 3 in terms of funding in the higher education system. We are now down to 6 or 7 and continuing to slide. So it has nothing to do with social issues or what's taught. What we're finding is that if you look at school systems that are homogeneous, there are problems in public schools across the country, and I'll bring up Columbine. If you remember the Columbine shooting, Columbine is probably the first school shooting where we started to see deterioration in public schools. That community was 90% white, middle class. They had 1% Black. They had about 3% Latino. Those are middle class communities. They didn't have any wokeism. They didn't have any DEI. They didn't have anything like that. But what they did have is students who were radicalized online, and who were influenced by other factors and had access to weapons. Those are some major issues that are impacting our schools, but we are getting distracted and banning books and changing curriculum and demonizing teachers and harassing superintendents because someone has put in the mind that there's wokeism and there's socialism and there's all this stuff happening in schools. It's not happening. Sound basic curriculum is followed in our schools. We haven't deviated from that. It is not causing issues. What's causing issues is the division between us. We are all connected. There are some people who want to lead to homeschool and private school because they've been convinced that there's a problem in public schools. It is hurting the public schools when those funds get pulled out. However, the facts are that there's no evidence that there's something called wokeism or liberalism or socialism that's hurting our schools. What's hurting our schools is pulling the money out and not paying the teachers and not giving them the resources.
Yes.
Emma, I want to thank you for your direct and forthright talk to us today, including that answer. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. We did want to give you, as a token of appreciation, a Rotary cup with our 4-weight test in the back. If you're not familiar with it, this is what we, if a situation originated, if the situation comes up, this is what we try to look to see if it's fair for everybody, et cetera. So, but your talk was,
Thank you.
yeah, I think very,
Thank you.
very illuminating. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dean, thank you.
Okay, thank you once again. So it's time to break till next Monday. And let's do the first of the things we think say to do. Is it the truth? Is it a law concern? Will be law concern?